Hey everybody, this video is to teach you how to pass the North Carolina Math 1 EOC using Desmos calculator. So I'm going to focus on the calculator active section and I'm going to see if I can teach you all of the Desmos hacks for passing the Math 1 EOC in just about 10 minutes. All right, so the first hack I'm going to teach you is when you have a data set, and so let's see if it'll let me copy paste. Go into Desmos and type stats. You can do a bracket and then a parenthesis, and I might have gotten those mixed up. I did. So if I get a caution sign, I'm just going to delete the bracket, and it still didn't work. So I'm going to put the bracket on the inside. So just play around with it until you get it, but the bracket goes on the inside. You've got your 5-number summary here. I've got my minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. And then I can take this same list and I can find the mean, because I think I needed the mean for this question. So I've got all the data that I need, and it says, which statement is true if a 10th data point of 45 is added to the data set? And we want to know what's going to happen to the mean and the median. So if I've got my original set here, and I don't even need this whole list. I really just needed the median. So I'm going to change that, paste it in, and then I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to find my new mean, and I'm going to add in the next data point, which was 45. And then I'm going to find my new median, and I'm going to add in my new data point of 45. And I can see that my mean went up and my median stayed the same. And so then I would choose C. All right, number 19 is another great question for me to show you how to solve this without knowing anything about solving equations. Anytime you have an equation and you're solving for x, you just need to do y equals the left and y equals the right in Desmos. So I'm going to type in the y equals the left side of the equation into line 1. So let me clear out. Y equals, that was the left side of the equation. Again, this is number 19 from the release exam. The right side of the equation is 10x plus 4. I've typed it in left side. Then I did y equals the right side. And I'm going to find their point of intersection. The x value would be the answer. So the answer to that question is 1. I solved it without using any algebra. All right, I'm going to hop to number 20. And this is a drag and drop question. It's systems of equations. Systems mean we have two or more equations. In Math 1, we typically only have 2. And all I'm going to do for this question is type these equations into Desmos and see what they look like. So the first one was 2x plus 2y is equal to 16. The second equation was 4x plus 3y is equal to 27. And when I look, they intersect. That means they have one solution, all right? Then I'm going to change my equations. I'm going to go back and do these middle equations. So I would have dragged my one solution here. So now I'm working on these two. So I've got 2x plus 2y equals 8, and then I have 4x plus 4y this time is equals 16. This time, they're exactly the same line. The green and purple, if I click back and forth between the lines, they fully intersect. That means there's infinitely many solutions. So I would drag infinitely many to that box. All right, now that would mean that my last one would be no solution. If you wanted to type it in to check it, you're going to see that they will not intersect at all because they are parallel. And you can see they don't cross, so they're parallel. So that would be no solution. All right, number 21 is one of the hardest questions on the release EOC in my mind because it requires a lot of steps, but not if you use the calculator. It says, which equation represents the line that is perpendicular to the graph of this equation and passes through this point? So I'm going to type that equation into line 1 of Desmos. Now, you do have to know a little bit of math here. You have to know what perpendicular means, which means it crosses at a right angle. But as long as you know that it's going to intersect and go through that point, you can just put your answer choices in. So I put the first equation in, and the point in. And then in line 3, I'm going to test out the answer choices. So this was answer choice A from number 21. So 3x minus 4y equals negative 18. And it does go through that point. And so and it looks perpendicular. So right now I'm thinking A might be the answer, but I'm going to just double check my other answers. So I have 3x plus 4y is equal to positive 18. That is definitely not perpendicular and it doesn't go to that point. So I could eliminate that one. Then answer choice C was 3x minus 4y and it's equal to negative 6. Does not go through the point. The last answer choice was positive 6 and positive 4y. It does go through the point and it does intersect, but it clearly does not intersect at a right angle. And so then my answer would be A. A lot of time saved there by not doing algebra and just typing it into the calculator. All right, so the next one that I'm going to go through is number 28. Number 28, we travel down there, and I'll link this released exam in the video comments or in the description. 28 has a function a sub n is equal to 3n minus 7. Guess what? You can type this into the calculator exactly the way it is written, and it'll graph it for you. And it says it represents the value of the nth term of a sequence. What is the sum of the first and the fifth ones? Because this is so cool. Watch. The sum of the first one, a sub 1, plus a sub 5, gives me the answer. That's all I had to do. So cool. You just got to do a sub 1, a sub 5. So if it was g of x or whatever the function was, that's all you do. It's so cool. All right, so number 35, we're going to solve a quadratic equation. And when I get to 35, I see this quadratic equation. It looks terrifying. We learn how to do this by factoring in class, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to do that. You can just do y equals the left and y equals the right, because that is how we solve equations in the calculator. You're basically turning it into a system. So I did y equals the left side of the equation. I did y equals the right side of the equation. Guess what? I'm going to go see where they cross. Now, they're going to cross at 121 because that's what I set the other one to be equal to. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to zoom back in, make sure I've got a good view. You don't want to accidentally click the y-intercept. I've got 1 and 12. Use the x values when you're doing the y equals the left, y equals the right trick. 1 and 12 are my answers, and so that would be D. All right, number 39, moving right along. We have a system. We kind of already talked about how to find a system. It's just type them both in and see where they intersect. So I've got f of x. You can type this in exactly. I think it was 3x plus 7. Then I'm going to go down here and do g of x. And that's 2x plus 12. And I'm going to go home button, gets me back zoomed out regular. Click where they intersect. It wants the x value. The x value is 5. Voila, another problem solved. All right, moving to 41. 41 is another one of these functions that you can just paste. Well, I don't know if it lets you paste on the EOC, but you can just type it in. It'll be on your screen. You can stretch it so that you can still see the problem. It's asking us for g of 30. I literally just go to the next line and do g of 30. And voila, my answer arrives. So cool. All right, so that's another problem solved. Number 46, I saved the lengthier type of problem for the end. And guys, these are all over this test. So this question has got a table and it's asking us to use the linear best fit model. If we want line of best fit or really any linear equation at all on this exam, we can use the line of best fit stuff in Desmos to do it. So this is what we do. You go to Desmos, you hit plus sign, you hit table, you start typing it in. This is going to take me just a second, but it's worth the time for how much the calculator can do for us. And I've got it on my other screen, so I don't have to flip back. Let's see, 80, 142. Again, this is number 46. We got a 4, 146. It was 86, 148, and then 88 and 152. The important thing here is to take a second and make sure you typed in the right numbers, because if you type it in the calculator wrong, it's going to be wrong. All right. And I think I've checked them. What you're going to do in line 2 is you're going to do y1 squiggle mark, ax1 plus b. This equation, a is your slope, b is your y-intercept. So now I can do the equation of my line because I have the slope and I have the y-intercept. I'm going to write it like we normally write it, y equals mx plus b, so 1.04. I'm just going to round. I don't even need to do the most accurate number. I'm just going to do 2 decimal places. Why not? 84, I think that'll get me there. Once I'm here, you've got some options. Said to use the line of best fit to predict the running heart rate of a girl whose walking heart rate is 100. So I'm going to look at my table and see if 100 is X or Y. The left side of my table was walking heart rate, so that means it's X. So I need to plug in 100 to my equation. You can hit the settings wheel button in the table and you can type in 100 and it gives me the answer. That's one way I could find the answer. Give me about 162.8. That rounds to 163. The answer is B. The other way I could do this is simply by not even using that table. I could just go to the X and type in 100, and that also gives me the answer. So this is how we do line of best fit. Something else I want to point out about my line of best fit equation. The R value tells me if the correlation is strong or not. We have a very strong correlation here because it's close to 1. If it was close to -1, that would be a strong negative correlation or relationship. If it's close to 0, it's a weak relationship. If you hit this magnifying glass button, it makes all the points show up and it shows you the line. All those points are very close to the line, and so we can see that it's a good fit model. So they might ask you, is it a good fit model? They might ask you about a residual plot, and a residual plot is made by the point, how far the points are from the line. So they could say like, which of these points needs to be removed, and you'd pick the one that was the furthest distance from the line. So that's just a little bit about line of best fit. There's tons of questions on this exam, released exam, where you're using that. You could do the same thing for number 45. All right, so I want to show you this one. This is our last one. I think I've gone over my 10 minutes, but it says, what is the distance between the y-intercept of this function and the y-intercept of the table? And it tells me that the table is a linear function, okay? So I'm going to go back to Desmos. I'm going to click this table, and I'm going to type in that linear function that it had on the screen, -515, -2, 3, to -13, and 5, -25. Then I go here, I do y1, squiggle mark, ax1 plus b, and I hit the magnifying glass. It zooms me to my line. This is actually an exact linear model. That's why the R value is -1, because it's a perfect negative sloping line. The B value is the y-intercept. All right, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to type in the other function it gave me. F of x equals 2x squared, and then it was -6x plus 3. And I look there, that's that y-intercept. This one's at -5. So it says, what is the distance between them? Well, to get from 3 to -5, we would have to travel 8. But there's a lot of ways you can use this linear regression feature to get equations of lines, to get slope. I think there's a question after this that just says, where'd it go? What is the slope of the line that fits the data? You would do the same thing, but you would want the slope, which is the A value in the calculator. I hope this video helps you rock the Math 1 EOC. Use your strategies. When in doubt, Desmos your heart out. Just type it. Go back to the ones you flagged and just try to use Desmos to get them done. And I hope that you'll be successful. I know that you will. Have a great day.